Hi there everyone, Jack here again at the Vinyl Void. So Scotland go crashing out of the European Championships again at the first hurdle. Nothing more than you would expect, I suppose. Well, is it? I did expect a bit more this year. We had a good team, we had a lot of good players, but injuries to key players, no bravery on the pitch, no quality striker up front, poor decisions tactically, and what about that horrendous penalty that we never got through VAR? Terrible, terrible decision, but enough about the football. We might be crap at football, but we're good at music. So today I've got some cracking albums to show you, all out of Scotland. There's some hard rock slash proto prog in there, some jangle pop, some post punk, some indie rock, a little bit of new folk, loads and loads of good stuff. So let's get into it. First up, then, a band out of Glasgow. This is Tear Gas with their debut album from 1970 called Piggy Go Getter. They did put out a second album, Tear Gas, just a self titled second album, a year later in '71. But like I said, this is the debut, and it's pretty cool. I love that artwork on the front. Nice texture sleeve. You've got the lyrics on the back. It's been put out on this famous label, a label that I'm not overly familiar with. I like the inner gatefold as well, with this kind of strange little comic strip. But what makes this album a bit of a collectible is if you look down here at the band, you might recognise some of these guys. So Tear Gas are essentially the band that would go on to become the sensational Alex Harvey band. They're essentially the sensational Alex Harvey band minus Alex Harvey. You've got Zal Clemenson, the guitar player, on here in full swing. Some great guitar work on here, some nice Hammond work as well. And I like some of the softer moments as well. There's some really sweet acoustic guitar. Just a quick look at this famous label that I said of. It's not one that I've come across very often. Yeah, a good listen. And if you like early 1970s rock, there's a mixture of kind of different styles on here, from kind of more mellow type stuff to almost one of the songs, Big House, almost sounds like they've kind of copied the band, that kind of early 70s Americana sound. But yeah, good album and definitely worth a listen. So the last time I did a Scottish albums video, it was I think my second video, and there was some mentions in the comments of albums that I could have shown. And Steve at All the World's a Stage mentioned Las Vegas. So this one's for you, Steve. Las Vegas' debut from 2008 on Columbia Records. If you've not heard Las Vegas, they're a brilliant band. They're a bit of a mixture of Jesus and Mary Chain distortion with Phil Spector Wall of Sound. You've got those 60s girl group drum beats, as well as the kind of melodrama that bands like the Shangri-Las brought to their songs. Really, really good stuff. I love that album cover. This is a reissue. If you've seen the original album cover, you would know that it was all black. Like I said, this is a reissue with that kind of gold effect. But like Steve said in the comments when he was talking about this is by far their best moment. They did a really nice Christmas EP called A Snowflake Fell and It Felt Like a Kiss, which is really, really good as well. But then it was kind of diminishing returns after that with their albums. Euphoric Heartbreak was not bad, but nothing really touches how great this was. But it's the songs that make this a really strong album. It's got a great sound, like I said, very Jesus and Mary Chain, but it's the songs all written by principal singer-songwriter James Allen. But Flowers and Football Tops, that kind of is a song about the practice in the UK when a young person is maybe killed. Flowers and football tops of their team that they supported are putting down in honour of that young person. Geraldine is about a social worker. Really, really great song as well. Polmont on My Mound. If you don't know what Polmont is the Young Offenders Institute, or a kind of like a prison for young offenders in Scotland. Then you've got this song Stabbed, which is all about a young person being stabbed, and it's very, very melodramatic, like a Shangri-Las song might be, but it's all done to the backing of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. It's another really, really good song as well, Daddy's Gone, all about a kind of abusive father and the trauma that it's caused his child as he's grown up. Yeah, really, really good stuff. Carrying on the football connection a little bit, the singer-songwriter for Las Vegas, James Allen, was a professional footballer himself. So he played football for a number of teams. He started out at Falkirk, and along the way he's played for Queen's Park, he's played for Stirling Albion, he has played for Gretna. Yeah, he's played in a lot of the kind of lower league teams. So yeah, I think he was a winger. But yeah, probably a better musician than he was a footballer. Yeah, get on this. Really, really good album. Las Vegas' debut. Next up then, Edinburgh in 1981. This is Scars with their debut album, their only album, called Author. This is really cool. Look at that album cover. And as cool as this album cover is, oh, look at the back cover. Like, check out that image of the band. That's terrible. That is really not representative of how the band sound, because here they look like some kind of community theatre group putting on a production of Alibaba and the 40 Thieves, but that is not how they sound. They've got a very, very tight rhythm section, great drums. I love the bass, it's really, really to the front of the mix, and kind of jangly guitars, very 80s kind of moody vocals. And the songs kind of go from upbeat 80s post-punk to more moody pieces. But yeah, they're really good. I wasn't familiar with this band at all until the start of the year, to be honest, when I picked this up in a collection. But it's on this pre-label, pre-records, which again, wasn't overly familiar with. Yeah, cool stuff. Next then, one of the most influential bands to come out of the west of Scotland. Definitely one of the most influential bands to come out of Bells Hill in the west of Scotland in terms of their influence on the indie scene back in the late 80s, early 90s, is of course the BMX Bandits, and this is their fourth album, Life Goes On, originally put out by Creation Records in 1993 with an alternative cover. This is a reissue from Past Night from Glasgow. But yeah, I love the BMX Bandits. If you don't know about them, they're very jangle pop, sound a little bit Big Star, a little bit Birds, similar influences to Teenage Fanclub. But like I said, they're massive influence in the whole scene in the west of Scotland, and the amount of different, guys who went through the BMX Bandits and then went on to other things is unbelievable. You had Norman Blake from Teenage Fanclub and Francis McDonald, the original drummer from Teenage Fanclub, playing the band. You also had Sean Dixon from the Soup Dragons, another great Glasgow band. You had, Eugene Kelly, who went on to be in the Vaselines. So yeah, loads and loads of kind of Scottish indie Illuminati passed through the BMX Bandits. Really, really good. But they're a fantastic band in their own right, led by principal songwriter Douglas Stewart. You can see him there. This is a nice reissue. It's got like a nice little write-up about the band there. And some great, great songs on here. Serious Drugs, the second song on the first side, is probably one of their biggest songs. Really, really melodic, chiming guitars, really great sound. But then also you've got in fact, it's the last song on the album. Douglas Stewart didn't write that one. Kylie's Got a Crush on Us. That was written by Jared Love from the Teenage Fanclub. But absolutely fantastic song. It's really, really good. Kind of imagining the BMX Bandits being worshipped and adored by Kylie Minogue, and Kylie basically having a crush on the band, which I think is a magic concept. But yeah, check them out if you haven't heard them. They're absolutely brilliant, BMX Bandits. And if you don't want to take my word for it, take Kurt Cobain's. He said that if he could have been in any other band in the world, it would have been the BMX Bandits. So there you go. High praise indeed. From one classic Bells Hill band to another then, we have the Teenage Fanclub with their 8th studio album. This is Man Made from 2005 on Pima Records. So Teenage Fanclub, by the time they'd released this, they'd lost their major label backing. Let's say this is on Pima Records, but it's still a great album nonetheless. It still has that classic 60s inspired songwriting, still has those glorious harmonies, the amazing chiming guitars, the Big Star influence is still there. A lot of like kind of melancholic, bittersweet songs, but it's really, really good. They went out to Chicago to record this one with, let's say, a very stripped back sound compared to what they'd maybe had in their previous few albums, but it still really works. They had to borrow a load of their equipment, because they didn't take that much stuff out with them. They borrowed a load of kit from Wilco. But yeah, really, really good album. It's not one of my favourite Teenage Fan Club albums, but still great nonetheless. Their original drummer returns for this album, Francis McDonald, who we spoke about being in the BMX Bandits for a bit. He returns on this. He hadn't played with the band since Catholic Education, and I've just managed to get a first press of Catholic Education. I bought it yesterday, and it should be hopefully good through the post to me as we speak. But yeah, that would probably be that, or Bandwagon-esque or Grand Prix would be my favourite Teenage Fan Club albums. But like I said, this is great nonetheless. You can't go wrong with Teenage Fan Club. Classic songwriting, and I think everything they've put out has been really, really good. Man Made is no exception. Sticking with Glasgow then, but going to the posh end, we're going out to the suburbs, to Bearsden, for the absolutely amazing Orange Juice, led by Edwyn Collins. This was their debut album from 1982, You Can't Hide Your Love Forever. It was also their major label debut as well. This is on Polydor. They were originally signed in the late 70s. They put out a number of singles with the cult Scottish label Postcard Records. Postcard had other bands at the time signed to it, like Joseph K and Aztec Camera. But yeah, this is with them on Polydor. Check out the artwork, really cool. Great songs on here. If you don't know the music of Orange Juice, they've got a very kind of jangly post-punk sound. There's elements of funk in there as well, little bits of disco. Songs like Satellite City, Love Love's really good as well. This song here, One Light, is so cool. This is sang by their other songwriter and guitarist, James Kirk. There we have Edwyn Collins, principal songwriter, very unusual voice. I think for me, he was just like a kind of quintessential 80s pop star. He had the look, they had that amazing croon. He was a big, big influence, I think, on bands like the Smiths and even contemporary artists. If you listen to someone like Jens Lenkman, the Swedish singer-songwriter, he sounds very Orange Juice influenced. Yeah, the band themselves, I think they were influenced by the Velvet Underground, Jonathan Richman, stuff like that. Yeah, great band, great album. There we go, Orange Juice, You Can't Hide Your Love Forever. Again, sticking with Glasgow then, but a more contemporary album. This is from 2020. This is Jerry Cinnamon with The Bonnie. This is on Little Runaway Records. So an album that was put out during the pandemic. A lot of the songs here, I think, were songs that were left over from his first album, Erratic Cinematic, which is a great album as well. But yeah, The Bonnie's really, really good. I would say the songwriting on here is maybe a little bit darker, a little bit more introspective. But if you don't know Jerry Cinnamon, he's essentially like a Scottish new folk singer-songwriter, acoustic troubadour type, but he has lots and lots of references to the west of Scotland in his songs, and he uses a lot of Scottish slang. So Bonnie, the title of the album, is like Scottish slang for a bonfire. And you can see all this album art here, all kind of looks as if it centres around Glasgow in the 1970s and the tenement buildings. I really like this album art. It's really cool. Some cool photography. But like I said, there's a lot of mentions to kind of Scottish culture and Scottish terminology and slang in here. That first song there, Canter, that was one of the singles. But a canter in this sense would be Scottish slang for something that was really, really easy. It's just an absolute canter. You don't need to break into a sweat to achieve it. But another good thing with that song, go check it out. It's got brilliant use of the word wanker in there as well. If you want to hear wanker used in a song to excellent effect, check out Canter. Yeah, some other really good songs on here. The song The Bonnie itself is really good. Fickle McSelfish is cool, as is Everyone's Truth. It's a nice little finger picking piece to end the album. But yeah, a cool album. I like Jerry Cinnamon. I really, really like the first album, and he's done a good job with this second one as well. There you go. There's the label. If you haven't heard him already, Jerry Cinnamon, The Bonnie, check him out. Canter. And finally, another album that was recorded in Glasgow, but from a band that were formed in Selkirk. This is Frightened Rabbit with their fourth album, The Pedestrian Verse. from 2013. This was put out on Atlantic Records. Now, this is an album that I've got to be in the mood for. It's an absolutely fantastic album, but with like a lot of Frightened Rabbit stuff, you've got to be in the right mood. If you don't know Frightened Rabbit's story, they're like an indie rock band. They released about 4 or 5 albums before Scott Hutchison, the singer and principal songwriter, committed suicide. He had a history of mental illness going all the way back to his childhood. You know, his mum had said as a young boy, when she saw him in groups with other children, he looked like a little frightened rabbit, and at night he used to suffer from a lot of nightmares. And she would say, yeah, when I looked in his eyes, he looked like a frightened rabbit. That's where they got the name for the band. But yeah, his albums kind of chart a lot of the emotional turmoil that was going on in his life, relationships with girlfriends, and his relationship with alcohol. And a lot of it's not an easy listen because, you know, it's all kind of laid out on his albums, and at times it is a difficult listen. But it's a little bit like listening to Nick Drake, especially Pink Moon. It's a really rewarding listen, but like I said, you've got to be in the right mood for it. But yeah, this is an anniversary, 10th anniversary package of the album. Really, really great album. If you're in the mood for something a little bit more melancholy, something more introspective, not the easiest listen, but when it sinks in, it's really, really rewarding. Go for some Frightened Rabbit, and you can't go wrong with Pedestrian Verse. And on that rather morose note, that brings my Scottish Albums video to a close. Now, I hope that you discovered a few new albums, new artists for you to check out from my video. If you enjoyed the video, give us a like. If you've got some other artists or albums that you want to talk about, or talk about these ones, stick it in the comments. I always love to reply. And if you want to subscribe to my channel and view some more of my content, then hit that subscription button. Okay, it'd be great to have you on board. Now, tonight I'm going to be doing my Weekender contest live, my first live stream. It won't be overly long, so fingers crossed that all goes okay. And until the next time, or tonight if you tune in, see you later. Bye for now.